Stand by. Jason Carroll is out in Colorado. Jason, Donald Trump certainly has been in an attack mode this week, especially with all the criticism leveled against him during the Democratic convention in Philadelphia. Do you expect him to keep up that pressure today once he speaks at his rally?
Without question, Wolf. Expect him to keep up those attacks, to step up the pressure. If any indication of what we heard yesterday in Davenport, Iowa, we're expecting to hear more here today in Colorado Springs when his town hall gets underway. Basically, what the Trump camp is saying, after you listen to everything that was said during the convention, the DNC convention, is that Hillary Clinton, the president, Democrats in general, they're feeling are basically out of touch with what real Americans feel and what they think about the country. In terms of feeling, they feel as though that most Americans feel that they are not safe. Quoting Donald Trump, they don't feel safe going to the theater. They don't feel safe getting on an airplane. They feel as though the president painted a rosy picture of the country, one that does not exist. You know that yesterday Hillary Clinton made it very clear that Donald Trump is a man who is very easily baited into tweeting. Well, that certainly didn't stop him from tweeting yesterday several times throughout her speech. Much of what he has to say read pretty much like this. Let me read a few of them to you. Crooked Hillary Clinton mentioned me 22 times in her very long and very boring speech. Many of her statements were lies and fabrications. Here's another one, Wolf. Crooked Hillary said that I couldn't handle the rough and tumble of a political campaign. Really? I just beat 16 people and I am beating her. And Wolf, also just within the past hour, I checked Donald Trump's Facebook page. He basically said that Hillary Clinton leading the country would be worse. It would mean, quote, more higher taxes, rampant terrorism, and more corruption. So this is what he's saying about this candidate. Basically what this is coming down to, it's an election not just about who is the better candidate to lead the country, it's about which vision of America that you believe in. The Trump camp is betting that most people, most voters will believe in the vision that he is painting. Wolf?
Jason Carroll in Colorado covering the Trump campaign. Jeff Zeleny at Temple University in Philadelphia with the Hillary Clinton campaign. We're going to be having extensive live coverage of those rallies coming up. We'll get back to them shortly. Hillary Clinton's message last night was that now the sky's the limit and that she's the one who has had the steady hand to handle the most important office in the world. Here with us right now, our senior political reporter, Nia Malika Henderson, and John King, our chief national correspondent, the anchor of CNN's Inside Politics. John, the first of these three presidential debates, those are going to be the big events coming up over the next couple of months. Still, 59 days away, the first presidential debate on September 26th. And now we see this Pennsylvania and Ohio bus tour. The strategy going forward now is to build up momentum going into what will clearly be those critical debates.
Think about it. We'll think of the contrasting messages, the contrasting tone, the contrasting ideas we heard in Cleveland and Philadelphia. Imagine when Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are just a few feet apart on a stage having this debate face to face. So I think all Americans are waiting for that. And I think given how close the race is right now, if it stays that way, these debates will be highly consequential. So what happens between now and then? You just showed the map of where the Democrats are going. If Hillary Clinton can hold Pennsylvania and win Ohio, Donald Trump's not going to be the next president of the United States. So where do you go? You go into small towns that have that economic anxiety. Look at Youngstown, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Blue-collar workers, white working-class voters, where Hillary Clinton is struggling right now. She needs to make the case that Donald Trump, as she tried to in the speech last night, he says he's your voice, but what would he do? He has no plans. He doesn't care about you. She's touched on the outsourcing by the Trump companies, the ties, the suits, and all that last night. Look for that to come up a lot, the outsourcing, but also look for her to try to make the case, as she did last night. She said, we Democrats have not spent enough time listening to you. That empathy for people who are anxious economically, struggling economically, critical to the Democrats.
Nia, as you remember, that first CNN ORC poll after the Republican convention in Cleveland saw a 10-point swing. Donald Trump went from 5 points down to 5 points up. On CNN's New Day earlier today, Tim Kaine, the Democratic vice presidential nominee, spoke about the message from the Democrats going forward. Listen.
With respect to Donald Trump and the things that he's proposing and the way he treats others and the vision he has for this country, it's going to be very easy for me to point that out, consistent with then laying out why we're so different and why a Clinton administration is going to be one that's focusing on positive results for people.
The Clinton campaign, they're expecting a considerable bump out of their convention as well. Isn't that right?
That's right. You saw Donald Trump get something of a bump there. He has been talking about his lead in the polls, at least according to our CNN poll, the ORC poll. I think it shows him up like 6 points or something. So we'll see what happens with Hillary Clinton. I mean, you saw her there really reach out to a broad range of people. On the one hand, try to hold on to the Obama coalition, but then also try to reach out to independent voters and Republican voters. They think, in talking to the Clinton campaign, they think they did their campaign a lot of good. They expect to see a polling bounce. But again, I think we'd have to check in August and September and then leading up to the election to see how this thing plays out and see if it even lasts. And then I think we just have to see what they're doing in these different states, what states they're targeting, what kind of ground game each of them have, what kind of ads they're putting up in the air. We saw, I think, from the Hillary Clinton campaign really go up early, spend millions of dollars in a lot of these swing states. And now you see Donald Trump trying to catch up with a message essentially saying, don't keep the car and the keys in Hillary Clinton's hands because look at where the country is now. I think one of his best lines has been, how is the status quo working out for you? And I think that's a theme that we're going to hear him keep on hammering.
Let me play a clip for you, John. This was a moment from last night's Philadelphia convention. Chelsea Clinton introducing her mother.
My earliest memory is my mom picking me up after I'd fallen down, giving me a big hug, and reading me Goodnight Moon. From that moment to this one, every single memory I have of my mom is that regardless of what was happening in her life, she was always, always there for me.
You and I have been covering the Clintons going back to '92 when Bill Clinton was running for president, spent some time in Little Rock, Arkansas. How do you think Chelsea did?
I first met Chelsea when she was 11, so it's remarkable to see her as this poised young woman. Now, she just had a baby 5.5 weeks ago. It's pretty remarkable. Look, a lot of people compared her speech to Ivanka Trump's speech. Ivanka Trump also introduced her father. Ivanka is the more polished public speaker. Ivanka had some policy in her speech. Chelsea didn't want to do that. She's trying to humanize her mom. She was always there for me. This is what they're trying to say. They're trying to say, you may think Hillary Clinton's been around a long time. You may have this perception of her as a calculating politician, but she's there for you. Chelsea Clinton did it, some other speakers too. She's with you when the crisis happens, but then she calls back and checks in. Chelsea was saying, you know, even though she was busy professionally, my dad was governor, she made my soccer games, she made my ballet recitals. Part of a very consistent theme to try to humanize Hillary Clinton a little bit, soften the edges, but also say when she starts something, she sticks with it. That was a key point of this convention, and Chelsea was part of the testimonial, if you will, that Hillary Clinton is a doer, not a talker, and when she starts something, she takes it to the finish, and sometimes she loses, but she gets back up. So Chelsea Clinton, an incredible part, Wolf, trying to take the rough edges off, but also can get into the tenacious, the fighting part of Hillary Clinton.
It's interesting, Nia, that both of these women, Ivanka, I think, is 34 years old. Chelsea, I think, is 35 years old. They're very poised, very smart, good speakers. I think they were friends or at least good acquaintances in New York. Yeah. I don't know about. I don't know what's going on now. But both of these women are going to be out there on the campaign trail, effective spokeswomen for their parents.
I think that's right. And in some ways, I mean, they're both spokespeople for the liberal agenda, right? I mean, if you remember Ivanka's speech, I mean, she in some ways sounded like a Democrat talking about paid maternal leave. I think that surprised people a lot. But I think Donald Trump at least sees her as sort of an ambassador to women voters, a group of voters that he is not doing well with as it is right now. So we'll see what they do. Again, they both just had babies, if I recall, quite recently. So we'll see how they're able to juggle that and also get out and be surrogates for their parents. And I think they're pretty effective surrogates. I mean, Chelsea Clinton, I think she has a master's in public health. She is a real wonk, just like her mother. And it'll be interesting to see how she is deployed in these next months in this campaign, because it's very much an all hands on deck affair for the Democrats. I think for Donald Trump, he has to rely on his kids in some way because not a lot of the Republicans are rallying to his side in a way that Democrats are rallying to Hillary Clinton's side.
John, let me play this clip. Donald Trump last night reacting to what he heard this week at the Democratic convention.
I wanted to hit a couple of those speakers so hard. But I was going to hit one guy in particular, a very little guy. I was going to hit this guy so hard his head would spin. He wouldn't know what the hell happened.
I want your reaction to that because, you know, this is Donald Trump. He's caused a little stir with those words.
Most people think by little guy he meant the former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who fellow New Yorker like Donald Trump, fellow businessman like Donald Trump, who peeled the skin off Donald Trump, essentially saying, I'm a New Yorker, I know a con when I see it, this guy's a fraud, this guy's lying to you, don't go there. Look, I laughed when you played that clip, and this was a key part of Secretary Clinton's speech last night. She said that's what people do. They laugh at Donald Trump, they laugh at some of these things because they are provocative, they are controversial, and they are entertaining. Secretary Clinton was trying to make the point, it's not funny, he's the candidate for president, and that's not presidential. That does not show presidential temperament. That is not the person you want, you know, when you have to make a big decision about policy or being on the global stage at some big moment. And this is a key part, again. It's a key part of Donald Trump's appeal. He's authentic. He says what comes into his head. Voters think he's unvarnished and unfiltered. And he's not beholden to anybody. So it has worked for Trump so far. Clinton is trying to say, no. This guy, she's essentially trying to say he's a clown. He's not a president. He's a performer. He's not a president. And this will be the debate for the next 120 days. She is trying to disqualify him by saying, you might laugh at that, but you don't want to laugh at your president.
John and Nia, I want both of you to stand by. There's more analysis coming up. We're keeping a close watch right now. Hillary